Hello everyone, this is a custom-made video. One of my paypigs has requested it and technically I cannot incorporate it into the 30 fetish video challenge because we have already talked about the fetish. It's the orgasm denial fetish, and if you are new into this channel or into the fetish in general, I suggest you start from that video. Otherwise, the video you're watching right now is not going to be making any sense. But if you come from the BDSM world and audience, we're going to talk today about the effects of long-term chastity and how long is it okay to keep your slave in chastity with his cock caged. The obvious answer is until he learns his place, like duh. But I'm going to expand a little bit more into practical matters because there have been many questions recently and I think it's good to answer them. First of all, by long-term chastity, we're talking about months, years, or probably forever. We're not talking about a situation that you just put your slave into chastity for a few hours or a few days, or when he misbehaves and you want to punish him, okay? And that creates a whole set of new complications and challenges that may or may not affect him long-term. First of all, for those of you that you don't know that, chastity not only stops ejaculation, but it can also stop erection. Which means that when your slave is locked up 24/7, he cannot have any erections whatsoever, which can be very painful at first and can lead to inflammation. But even when it's not painful, because after a few days he gets used to it, it stops nature's mechanism of solving the problem when a man doesn't masturbate and doesn't ejaculate. So what does nature do to those men? Usually, what happens is what we call wet dreams and night ejaculations, when a man has an erection and an ejaculation in his sleep. And when he's constantly in chastity, this is being prohibited. It cannot happen. And when a man cannot ejaculate or have an erection for months or years, there is a pretty high chance he's going to lose his ability to have an erection altogether or to maintain an erection when you want him to have sex, or even worse, it can affect his fertility negatively. But for me, those are not real problems because those men were not meant to have sex anyway, and they were not meant to have kids anyway. They exist to serve you, so I don't really see what's the problem with that. It's okay if he is aware of his situation, but it's up to you. He doesn't have the control and nothing is really going to change. I thought it's a very good idea to consult some doctors, specifically urologists, on the video. And I asked some of them both online and in real life, and they were very surprised. They told me that not even once in their life they had a patient that would ask them about chastity, and it made me kind of sad in a way that it seems to be a very taboo matter, even in our days in the 21st century, and they don't dare to ask. And because chastity devices in general are not FDA approved, you can be in danger, you can buy stuff that may be harmful for you, and I think it would be a good idea if there was an open dialogue between doctors and patients about what's best for them. Another problem that may or may not happen, depending on your chastity device, is difficulty cleaning your penis, and in most cases you can clean it, but when a man is constantly sexually aroused and there are fluids leaking, to put it YouTube friendly as much as possible, that creates a problem long term. And because personally I'm not into stinky people at all or unhygienic people at all, I think what I would do if there was someone that is in chastity for years would be to allow him to just remove the device, shower, and then put it right back on. And if he doesn't obey, or if he tries to masturbate or do anything else to displease me, that's going to be a punishment, depending on how serious the offense is. So I think every rule has an exception once in a while that most of all has to serve you, okay? Another factor that does make a difference that I became aware of thanks to my conversations with the doctors is if your chastity device is custom made or not. Usually, when you plan to be in long-term chastity, I would advise you to get something custom made that is specifically designed for you. Otherwise, you're probably going to have too much pressure, too much discomfort, and anything that is too much for you can long-term affect your obedience and your performance as a slave, because let's face it, slaves are weak, If you give them too much to handle, they're just going to keep failing you. I mean, they're failing you most of the time anyways. But in my opinion, and that's again my personal style, I like mental torture the most as a sadist. So it doesn't really give me much to work with having a man who is permanently in chastity and he knows he's never going to have sex again, because there's no thrill in that. I can't just give him the hope of masturbating or having an erection and then crashing it, which is half the fun. He just knows that he's going to be there and that's it. Kind of depressive. So, since you wanted my specific opinion about the matter, I think long-term chastity is totally fine as long as you're careful, you practice hygiene, and you know when something is too much for you. Otherwise, you're going to end up with some very nasty infection, you're going to end up taking off your device by yourself more often than not, because I've seen that happening again and again, and you're going to be overall a disappointment and a burden even more than you already are. So that's all about this matter, and if you have any more requests for more videos, I want you to please ask me. Thank you very much for watching.